Hello and welcome to Dad and Swebb Talk Sports. I'm Swebb.
And I'm Dad.
And we are the dad and daughter duo talking about all of our favorite sports moments from the week. Dad, how are you?
I'm fine. How are you doing?
I'm in hiding.
What are you hiding from? Who are you hiding from?
Because on Wednesday morning I looked like a genius after UNC laid a beat down on San Diego State. And by Friday night, now I'm in hiding.
Yeah. You better stay in hiding for a while. That's why they get too excited about that San Diego State victory.
Listen, they looked the best they'd had ever looked.
Well, not
and then
ever.
They came back
this season.
This season. The best they'd looked all season. And then they came back on Friday and looked the way that we've seen them look all season. So, for those who follow us on social media, they saw me post and say, everyone needs to shut up because UNC has made the tournament, which I still stand by. They should have made the tournament, but man.
Come on.
All right. Let's talk about, before we dive into college basketball, what is up? You went to a concert recently.
I went to Nashville, Tennessee, the Grand Ole Opry. And remember how I told you I never get excited? Anytime I go into any kind of venue, I'm looking for a scoreboard. Where's the scoreboard? Because if it's not about sports, but I tell you, I highly recommend that for anyone. There's so much history in that place. It's incredible. The people.
Who did you see?
The people are nice. Guy's a very popular guy. His last name is Gill. I forget his first name. He's one of the top guys.
Gill?
Yes, him. Yeah, and then a bunch of other people that are older people that only if you're a real country music person you would know.
What was your favorite song?
Huh?
Were you awake the whole time?
Yes, I was awake the whole time. The only time, and then I was so inspired before I left. This is the 100th year anniversary of the Grand Ole Opry. So the night we got there, they had a 3-hour special concert with everybody, every country star, and it was on NBC. So I taped it. So last night I watched that, and incredible. And then they give a lot of commercials. It's unbelievable. I recommend that to anybody, even if you're not into music. I'm not no music, but that was unbelievable. And the people there are the friendliest, nicest people. I'm talking about the other people, and the place is jam-packed.
So you had a chance to talk to people while the performances were going on.
We got there early, and I'm talking to people. You know how I do, Swebb. I talk to people.
Yeah. So are you a country music fan now?
Yeah.
All right, what's your next concert?
I'm looking at the calendar to see when I can go back there again. I'll definitely go back. And next time I want to go, so I see 2 concerts. And the tickets are pretty cheap. The tickets are only $50-something.
Yeah, but when you add in the flight and hotel, then it goes up.
Not so fast, my friend. It's only an 8-hour drive from me.
What do you mean for me? You're not the one typically driving 8 hours.
Well, me and my chauffeur.
So it's an 8-hour drive for Mom to drive you there while you're sleeping.
She won't have to drive the whole way.
She'll have to drive about 6 hours of the way.
Okay. Then I only have to drive 2.
Okay. Well, you know you can go other places for concerts.
No, but I'm telling you.
I used to work at Madison Square Garden. You should try going there for a concert. You haven't lived unless you've seen Billy Joel at Madison Square Garden, my friend.
I'm telling you, have to go to the Grand Ole Opry. How much do the tickets cost to see Billy Joel
They're free when you're working there.
What?
And when you're asked to host.
Yeah, well, at the Grand Ole Opry, unless that big extravaganza the night before was like $800 for the balcony. But we only paid like $54. And it's a 2-hour show.
Okay.
2 hour and 20 minutes with a 20-minute
Two
intermission.
things. Stop hitting the table.
Oh, sorry.
Because the camera shakes and people are going to get vertigo watching. And secondly, if you've only been to one concert, so I'm not sure that I completely trust your opinion over where you need to go for concerts. I know that the Grand Ole Opry is the place to go, but I think you should broaden your horizons.
Whoa, not so
Try
fast.
going to a few more shows
Not so
in
fast.
other locations.
I went to the Grand Ole Opry Friday night, but Thursday night I went to see my man Tyler Smith perform at his school up there in Nashville. Well, it's Brentwood, Tennessee, which is 20 minutes from Nashville. And I saw a concert with him and the other people in his program. So I saw 2 concerts when I was up there. My first 2 concerts, Swebb, in my life.
Okay.
Outside of when you and your brother were in and stuff.
In wind ensemble.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I am happy for you that you're doing other things because no need to sit around watching college basketball after the performance of UNC on Friday. So UNC's finally, their season is over. They end the season after a loss to Ole Miss on Friday night in the round of 64 for the NCAA tournament. They lose 71-64. They go down, as was the story most of the season, go down by 20 early in the game in the first half and have to scratch and claw their way back, and sometimes are unable to make it all the way back, which is what happened on Friday. So they end the season 23-14. 3 guys from the team will be lost to graduation, the biggest being R.J. Davis, the second leading scorer in UNC history, who's given everything he has, played every game of the 5 years that he was at UNC.
He never missed a game.
Never missed a game, despite the fact that he's got a small frame and gets fouled quite a bit. So that's pretty impressive. But just sad to see him go. Excited to see what this team can do because the transfer portal opens tomorrow.
No, Monday. It opened, Swebb.
It's open today.
It opened at 9 o'clock this morning, Swebb. 9 o'clock, and Carolina is already shopping. Already got a list of guys my contacts say they've already been in contact with.
Well, some of those guys include the big man from Nevada, Davidson, which could be a great pickup for them. He's averaged around 14 points per game for Nevada.
And
6'11".
And he's big, strong. He's the kind of big man you want.
There's also a shooting guard from Virginia that's averaged about 14 points per game. I think is from the area.
Yep.
And they've said that he's pretty interested in coming to UNC.
Yep. I think they've already started talking to his representative, his agent. All these guys have agents. I can't get over this. This is craziness.
So the
and he's
crazier thing is
he's
that
a tremendous shooter, and he's a strong guy. He's like 6'4", and he's strong.
The crazier thing is that the transfer portal is open while the season is still going for 16 teams in the Sweet 16.
Do you know
that's like starting free agency during the playoffs of professional sports?
Some teams that are still alive and still playing, some of the kids on the team already put their name that aren't playing already put their name in the transfer portal.
Michigan, Pippen, I'm assuming that's Scottie Pippen's son, just announced that he's entering his name into the portal, and he's in the Sweet 16 for Michigan. So I don't get that. I think they probably need to revisit that.
He was already at Vanderbilt. He already played at Vanderbilt for a year or two.
Well, he's transferring again, and his team is still playing. So they definitely need to revisit that because that's crazy to be in the college version of free agency while the season is still going on. That just doesn't make any sense. But back to UNC. So on their roster, they'll have 8 scholarship players that are currently on the roster. Van Allen Lubin, Seth Trimble, Cade Tyson, Jalen Washington are juniors going into their senior year. Elliot Cadeau is a sophomore going into his junior year. And then 3 freshmen in James Brown, Ian Jackson and Drake Powell that are freshmen going into their sophomore year. So we'll see what happens in terms of maybe some of those guys transferring. If they think that they're not going to get playing time, you'll likely see one or two of them transfer, maybe one or two even try their hat in the NBA draft and see if they could end up being a first-round pick. I don't know that that's necessarily the case. UNC does have 3 commitments from incoming freshmen in Caleb Wilson, the number 9 player in the country, 6'9" forward, 5-star recruit. Derek Dixon and Isaiah Dennis, 2 guards, 48 and 49 players in the country this year, both 4-star recruits. So I'd like to see them, UNC, capitalize on the transfer portal, because you're getting a player that, especially if they've played and they're averaging 13, 14 points a game, that means they're getting some quality college minutes. So they're a little bit ahead of where the freshmen are in terms of development, and they can come in and make an impact right away. And that's what Carolina needs. They need to be developing the guys that they recruit, but they also need to be getting those more experienced guys that can fill in the gaps for this roster.
You have to. You can't just load up with freshmen. You got to take a few freshmen and then fill in all the gaps with kids from the transfer portal that have experience and are physically more mature. Okay? Physically more mature. You can't depend on 17 and 18-year-old kids to lead you to the promised land. Okay? Duke has some great freshmen, but it's some of those guys from the transfer portal that have really put their team over the top. If they just had their guys from the freshmen, even though Flag is tremendous, they wouldn't be where they are.
Yeah, you saw that with North Carolina. There were a myriad of problems that North Carolina had this year with this team, but having 2 freshmen solidly in the rotation, they didn't always make the smartest plays. And even some of the transfers. Jalen Withers really came on towards the end of this season. Jalen Washington also was in the rotation in the starting lineup quite a bit throughout the season. These were guys that collectively, from top to bottom, just lots of turnovers early in the season, unable to defend the pick and roll, which was also a problem in the Ole Miss game. Just unable to make adjustments. So having some veteran presence in there besides just an RJ Davis, having a few guys that have experience playing for D1 teams in big conferences will help round this roster out. I will say, in terms of looking at the recruiting class for UNC, to see 3 guys signed thus far, the number 9 player in the country, that's the type of player that you want if you're UNC. The 48th and 49th player in the country, not necessarily where you want UNC.
That guy Dixon is good. He was the MVP. He was the best player in the Washington, D.C., Maryland league, which is the best top high school public league in the country. That guy is real good. He can shoot it. He can pass. He's real good. And I'd
like to see them stack up on some 5-star recruits. Now, that doesn't always make the difference in the team, because I believe Ian Jackson was a 5-star recruit as well. And he was an ACC all-rookie team. Still has a lot of development to do. We'll see if he tries to see if he could end up being a first-round draft pick in the NBA, or if he decides to come back. I think he still needs to come back. I don't think there's any NBA talent on this roster. I think RJ Davis is likely going to go undrafted and may sign with the team, but this is a team of guys that still need more development. So we'll see what happens with UNC. In terms of the bracket, Dad, right now you're leading the Dad and Swebb bracket challenge, but of course you have the least amount of points left to earn, because Clemson, who's in your Final Four, was upset in the round of 64.
Oh, that's how that works?
That's how that works. So I'm in 3rd. I still have my champion pick in it, and my Final Four. Houston is the team that I picked to win the whole thing. But UNC, I got a little excited prior to this, I submitted my bracket prior to Tuesday, but I felt good. I thought they could go to the Sweet 16. There were a few other teams in there that didn't. Purdue, I didn't have going as far. Clemson, I did have going to the Sweet 16. So right now you're in first, but we'll see what happens in the next 2 weeks now, won't we?
Yep. I should be in good shape.
We'll see. I don't know. All right, so let's just cover the Knicks real quick. They have a game on Tuesday against the Dallas Mavericks, a completely different Dallas Mavericks team than earlier in the season. But they're struggling. They are 4-6 in their last 10. Post All-Star break, they're 8-8, averaging about 109 points per game. To give some context, prior to the All-Star game, they were averaging 119 points per game. So Jalen Brunson is out. He's going to be out what seems like a few more weeks. And they've just looked like they can't find that rhythm without Jalen Brunson in the lineup.
They have problems. And now McBride is hurt.
McBride is out with a groin injury. I did like what I saw on this past weekend against the Washington Wizards with Kolek. This is the thing. When guys get hurt, it's an opportunity because we know that Tibbs doesn't like to use a very lengthy rotation here. So guys get hurt. It gives people the chance to step up to see what they have. And I've liked what I've seen out of Kolek. He had 8 assists in the game against Washington. I think he was playing 18 minutes, 8 assists in 18 minutes.
Yeah,
no turnovers.
He led college basketball in assists last year. He's excellent, but he's not going to score 25 points like Brunson scores. But if he can dish and help other guys, the Bridges has to step up. He has to be consistent every night now. Can't play games with him anymore. He's got to score.
The unfortunate thing about this latest, these past 2 weeks for the Knicks, we talked about their tough road trip to the West Coast where they didn't perform that well against some really good teams. But we thought with them coming back to this side of the country, playing some teams that have the worst records in the league, that they would be able to string together a few wins, even with Jalen Brunson out. And they just weren't able to make that happen, losing at San Antonio, losing at Charlotte, who's one of the worst teams in the league. So not exactly what you want to see. This week coming up, Tuesday at home against Dallas, Wednesday at home against the LA Clippers, Friday at Milwaukee, and Sunday versus Portland at home.
And Milwaukee's starting to play good now.
So that's the Knicks for you. In more exciting news, the Yankees. Opening day is this Thursday, March 27th, which feels so early because I was walking outside today and I was shivering walking to the train. It is very cold outside today. So good luck to all those people who are going to be at Yankee Stadium on Thursday watching the home opener against the Milwaukee Brewers. But let's talk baseball, Dad, because we're turning the page. Our college team is out of the NCAA tournament. We'll still obviously follow the games, but we have no horse in the race anymore.
You see the end of that Maryland game yesterday?
I did not. I was actually catching up on a few other TV shows that I couldn't watch because I was watching college basketball.
They have a 7-foot center, Queen.
Must be nice.
He played. He was a McDonald's All-American. He played at Monteverde Academy in Florida with Cooper Flagg. They were losing by 1 with 3 seconds to go. They take it out, give it to him. He dribbles to his left and takes an off-balance bank shot with a guy hanging all over him. Makes it game over. They win by 1. Incredible. As he's had a good season, but he didn't play that well yesterday. But in the clutch, in the huddle right before that, he told the coach, "Give me the ball. I'll score."
I think he said it in a little bit more colorful language.
Yes, he did. And he did it. And an incredible difficult shot. It was incredible.
I was at that time watching this week's episode of Survivor. So it was really good. A very thrilling tribal council where, I don't want to spoil it for anyone who's not caught up on
You watch
Survivor.
those kind of programs, Swebb?
An immunity idol was used, and the alliance that had the majority, one of those guys ended up going home. It's been a great season.
I wouldn't know about stuff like that.
If you got stuck on an island for 26 days and could only eat rice, we would barely recognize you. You look like you did on your wedding day. Size 25 waist.
No, 28.
There's no way.
Mm-hmm. I remember having
You looked smaller.
I remember
you had chicken legs.
I remember having a 28 waist.
Well, okay, let's talk baseball because opening day is upon us, which is really exciting. I always love turning the page to a new season. When my team's out of the mix, I like to turn the page to a new season. Obviously, the Knicks are still in it. The Rangers are kind of in it, struggling for an 8th spot in the playoffs. But let's talk baseball. I wish I had better news, but as I look at the depth chart here, it's not great for the Yankees, okay? So, Carlos Rodon is going to be the starting pitcher for opening day. Max Fried, the big free agent signing, obviously going to be a starting pitcher that the Yankees rely heavily on. Marcus Stroman, who there was talks of him being traded, and he wasn't too happy about it, and he didn't want to come to spring training, and very tenuous situation. Well, guess what? On this depth chart I'm looking on ESPN.com, he's the 4th starter right now because we talked about Garrett Cole.
He's actually
now
the
third
starter.
Right, because there's a big red O next to Clark Schmidt, who was the 3rd starter, who's out with a bad back.
No, he had, but he's just not going to be ready when the season starts. He's going to need to get his innings up. He's going to need an extra because he missed some of spring training. So he has to stay in Florida for another 10 days or so.
Which, when you're a pitcher, you never know how that can go. We talked last week or the week prior, a few weeks ago, when we were mourning Garrett Cole out for the season, Luis Gil likely out for the first half of the season, 2 of the Yankees' best pitchers. So that leaves us with Carlos Carrasco as the 5th starter in the depth chart for the Yankees.
Hey, this is the thing I can't understand. Baseball players, I've never seen, and it's not just the Yankees. Every team. Boston has 3 pitchers on the disabled list to start the season. Yankees have 3 starting pitchers on the disabled list to start the season. Guys, some of these free agents the team signed are in their 30s or late 20s. Who's the first baseman from Arizona? He signed with Houston. He's not going to be able to play. There's a whole slew of guys that aren't going to start the season on time. I think, in my opinion, it's too much weightlifting these guys do. Look at Stanton. All of a sudden, he has 2 bad elbows. He doesn't even throw. How did that happen? I'm telling you, it's the weight look. You look at players in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, their physical parents, and look at these guys now. It's like these guys want to be all jacked up, like they're getting ready to play linebacker for, the Chiefs or something. They're too muscular. You're supposed to have lean muscles for baseball. It's totally different. These guys look like weightlifters, bodybuilders, some of these guys. It's too much. Jeter, he never had any serious injuries. Slim guy. He looked the same way when he retired 20 years later. Mariano Rivera, same slim. These guys are strong, but they're slim.
You should find out what their workout plan was and get on that. 20 years, Hall of Fame careers, same size clothes the whole way through.
Yeah, I'll give them a call.
You should. Just slide into their DMs and say, hey, Jeets, I need to know what was your secret because I'm having a little trouble myself. I used to be a 28 waist.
But I don't have any.
Now I'm a... And, It doesn't hurt to ask. If you don't ask, you won't know.
That's true.
So let's talk about the rest of the lineup here. Austin Wells, starting catcher. The good news is the Yankees have 3 catchers in making the roster.
And they're all left-handed hitters.
Did you see the video of JC Ascara?
Yes. That was tremendous.
Getting the nod that he had made the big league roster, and then he called his mom. His mom was very excited, so I'll be rooting for him. I think he was a substitute teacher and an Uber driver and a lot of different things just to make it to the big league.
And
so
Brian Cashman found him, put him in the minors last year, and he played great, and he gave him a chance this year, and that kid can hit. And he's a very good defensive catcher. He's 31 years old. And when you see a guy like that, that's why baseball players act and behave a lot different than these guys coming straight out of college in football and basketball and a ton of money showered on him. This guy had to work.
So we'll be rooting for him, obviously. At first base, we've got Paul Goldschmidt. Second base, Jazz Chisholm. Third base, it says DJ LeMahieu as the starting third baseman, but he's obviously out. So that's going to be a battle still between Oswaldo Cabrera and Oswald Peraza. It looks like Cabrera is going to win that spot.
Mm-hmm.
At shortstop, we obviously have Anthony Volpe. Left field, Jason Dominguez. Center field, Cody Bellinger. Right field, Aaron Judge. And at DH with Stanton out, it looks like Ben Rice might be the starting DH. So, and backup catcher as well. Can also play some first base if needed. So, you know, it's a long season, 162 games for all of those who weren't aware of how long the season is.
6 months.
The Yankees aren't going in with their best roster, but if they could get everyone healthy midway through the season, then we'll see. But the nice thing is we've got a ton of time here, and it's a new season. So
and they have a lot of good young players. A lot of good young players going to get a chance to play. And a lot of young players that can really hit. We'll see how well they hit when the lights go on.
Let's see. I think most Yankee fans, especially coming off of a World Series loss last year, the way that they lost, I think would like to be going in with a little bit more optimism than we feel. And that's because a lot of the key players are hurt, but also because there's some gaps that have been gaps all off season and into spring training. So we'll see. What are you expecting of the first few months at least?
I'm expecting them to play well. It's a question of how good the starting pitching is going to be because of the injuries to the starting pitching rotation. But listen, you got to give these young players a chance to play. I said the same thing last year with the Mets, and once they started moving some young players in, they wind up in the playoffs and almost made the World Series. Okay, you got to get – I've had millions of conversations with your brother over the years, and he always says, you got to let young players play. You got to let them play. I said, but this guy isn't ready yet. Let him play anyway. We'll see. You got to let these guys play because if you don't, you just I'm tired of signing old players that fall apart. Okay, after you give them $10 million or $20 million. It's a young man's game.
If there was a one word to describe how you were feeling going into the Yankee season, what would that word be?
We'll see.
Well, that's 2 words. So
patience.
Okay, so you're patient. I am hopeful. That is the word. Hopeful is my word. Patient is your word. All right. What are you looking forward to this week besides opening day, Dad?
Well, and the college basketball playoffs, the tournament, see that progress. And I'm looking to see who Carolina, it's going to happen fast. You're going to see some of these guys. You wouldn't believe how many kids are in the transfer portal already. Just opened at 9 o'clock this morning.
We're going to have to talk in greater length about the fact that the transfer portal is open while the season is going on. But that's for another episode. I am looking forward to, what am I looking forward to? That's a really good question, and I'm not sure that I completely know the answer.
What did you do on Saturday, Swebb?
I went to a vintage store, or a vintage pop-up, and I bought myself a kimono and a sequin cardigan. I don't need either of those, nor did I planned to get a fun jacket, but I didn't know what I was going to get. So I got 2 pieces. I'm looking forward to wearing those out in the streets of Manhattan. I'm also looking forward to some warmer weather because I got new Adirondack chairs that are composite material instead of wood, so they won't fall apart. So I'm looking forward to that. I have some outdoor plants coming, so we could really just set up the whole place real nice, ready for company, just ready for me to enjoy the place that I'm paying my left kidney for in rent. And I'm excited for some baseball. So, Dad, before we go, do you want to leave us with a dad tip of the week?
Yep. Remember the last few weeks I talked about failure? I'm going to leave you with one sentence. In the furnace of failure, the embers of faith ignite. You always have to have faith. In the furnace of
failure, the embers of faith ignite.
Exactly. So you have to have faith. So what do you think about the baseball season? We'll see. I think they're going to play well. You have to have faith, Swebb.
I like that. Pastor Roland Weber.
Don't forget that.
That's important, and that's not just important for our sports teams. That's
right.
Just important in life.
That's right.
So
very important in life.
That's a great tip.
Which we've discussed other weeks.
My tip is when you see a kimono that you really want to purchase and you circle the vintage pop-up 3 times, checking it out, purchase it. Okay? I'm going to wear it on an episode so people can see it.
Oh.
It's better in person, though. It's so much better in person. But that concludes this week's episode of Dad and Swebb Talk Sports. Thank you for tuning in. Be sure to follow us at Dad and Swebb on Instagram and X. Subscribe on YouTube and Rumble. We will see you, and share this episode with a friend. We'll see you next week.
So long.
Thank you for tuning in to Dad and Swebb Talk Sports, the show where we cover all of our favorite sports moments from the past week. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube and Rumble, and follow us at Dad and Swebb on Instagram and X. See you next week.